So before I start, everyone, I think it's good for you to know this event will be recorded just for the purpose of us sharing all the information that will be talked about with everyone that is connected today. Now, it's mainly just to be shared on internet and maybe on our website, but nothing else in particular. Okay. But if anyone has any issues with that, especially the speakers, of course, feel free to reach out to us and we'll see what we can do about it. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, dear panelists, I generally want to thank you all for your presence and your time, of course. Your attendance is very, very, very encouraging and shows that in this world, and 60 years after the independence of our country, our beloved country, the DRC, there are still a few people, or at least a bunch of people, willing to contribute to the development of our country. And it's actually in this respect that I want to take this opportunity to briefly introduce to you Komala. Komala is an initiative recently created by 3 individuals, being me, one of them, Reti Lubala. I didn't introduce myself, but one of the founders, Reti Lubala, Gregory Dianzenza, and Rodi Lubala, who is also on board. But we are on a genuine mission to empower the youth to be the source of development and growth in their communities. So when you hear the mission of Komala, you understand that it's not about me, it's not about him or someone else, but it's about us. We try to strive for collective success to increase the impact of our actions. So yes, we are in a mindset that change is possible and on the way. And please mark my words, I'm not saying that we are the solution, but I'm saying that we are, or we want to be in the contribution to the solution. So this event is one of the many, and there will be others following. But on behalf of Komala, I generally want to officially welcome you in this very first edition of the Diasco Meeting. A great idea of today's moderator, Gregory, who took the time to conceptualize the whole thing and make it happen. So a big thank you to Gregory. And this being said, I will let the word to moderator Gregory Dianzenza, who is also the co-founder and vice president of Komala. Gregory, the floor is yours.
Wow. But first of all, before even starting with the house rules and the presentation of our invitees, our guests, I will just let you guys know what Diasco stands for. It's a brief acronym for diaspora Congolaise. So Diasco means diaspora and the co is for Congolese. And a meeting that's, of course, for us to meet and to speak about the development and our involvement in our home country or the country of our ancestors. So before doing a brief presentation of our guest, I just want to do the house rules just to be sure that to be sure that everything will go smoothly. Yeah, first of all, I think it's a bit logical. No hate speech, no tribalism, and no insults, of course. In what way it's not acceptable. So if someone would do that, that person will be blocked. Secondly, we can't neglect, of course, being Congolese, the political landscape of Congo. And we don't want to be hypocrite about it, but so we have to discuss it, and it will be discussed because Jean-Jacques is also here available to discuss about it. But we don't accept insults toward Congolese politicians or Belgian politicians. And thirdly, also, just don't interrupt people when they are speaking. Everyone will have their moment to do their say. There's time enough to do it. So those are the rules. So I will present to you the guests. First of all, I will start with the ladies. I will start with Gianni Irenge. So Jenny Iringe is a consultant. She she's born in Kinshasa. She lived in the Eastern Congo. Then she went to Belgium, and then from Belgium, she studied here, lived here, and she went back to her country. And that's the start of our story. And I hope she will give her insights and tell our own story about how she's doing our endeavors, our enterprises in Congo. Secondly, we have Tracy Tanza. You may have seen her on television on Kinder of the Kolonie. Was really a very good show. I think a very good documentary on Canvas, which is a Flemish television. So she also, she's born here in Belgium, went back to Congo to work in the eastern part of the country, even though our family is from the western part in Kinshasa. So that's a very nice dynamic and something I want to know more about. And then lastly, but not of course least, is Jean-Jacques Lumumba. Jean-Jacques Lumumba works for UNIS, which is an enterprise who is trying to fight corruption in not only in Congo, but in the whole of Africa. And Jean-Jacques has been one of the person in the forefront of fighting corruption in Congo. And that's also why later this evening he will be invited for an interview by TV5 Monde. So at 10, if people want to watch him speak and analyze the situation in Congo, I would really invite you and push and stimulate you to go watch, because he's a very interesting man with a lot to say. So with that being said, I will start with the first question, and I will start with Jenny, if she wants to. The first question is, of course, like I said, Jenny, she lived in Belgium, studied in Belgium. She also studied in the UK, then went to South Africa. And now in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, she decided to go back to the country of her ancestors, to Congo. So the first question I really want to ask, why and how was that feeling for yourself and for the person living next to you, maybe your brothers, your sisters, your parents that are maybe still in Belgium? So that's the first question I would like to ask to Jenny, but also to Tracy and Jean-Jacques Lumumba.
Hi, can everyone hear me? Can you hear me? Because I think everyone else is
yes,
muted.
I can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Perfectly.
All right. First of all, thank you guys for your time and for this initiative. It's really great. I like being part of discussions like this because I see the importance in it. And yeah, I think everything that I have to say will be said in the discussions we'll have in the next hour or so. So to answer your questions, when I got to Belgium, I think I already knew I wanted to move back home once I finished my studies. I didn't know how that was going to happen, but I knew. So I think my family was very well prepared for me coming back home. Because then again, since I was 16 and I was able to travel by myself, I came home almost every summer, or I tried to come home almost every summer. My family used to find it very weird that I would choose, I don't know, coming to Kinshasa every summer over discovering the world and traveling to Spain, to Italy and everything. I tried doing everything, but also coming back home every single year because I wanted to stay in touch. Seeing my other friends in Belgium, for example, that lost their roots or their connection to the motherland, and so were not interested anymore. I didn't want to be like that, so I made sure I went back home every year. When I went to study in London, it was actually more clear because when you live in Belgium, it's like young people, African people that finish their studies don't directly think about going back home. Whereas when I went to London, my friends, like majority of the people I used to I went to uni with Nigerians and Ghanaians and everything, and even Jamaicans and stuff. And you can see that in their mindset, like going home, not for everyone, but for the majority, is like the next thing. And when they explain to you why, it kind of like give you more motivation. If you didn't have that motivation, I had it. It gave me even more. And if you didn't have that motivation, it will actually make you consider even like being interested in visiting your motherland. So yeah, the reaction on my side wasn't, for going back home wasn't, they weren't surprised. However, when I told them that I would move back to Congo, but not to Kinshasa, but to Goma, my family was okay, but my friends and Congolese friends, especially from the diaspora, those that don't really know the eastern part of Congo, were really shocked, asking me, but why would you choose the most dangerous part of Congo to go back to for your first time? Goma is known for war, for rape, for violence and everything. So everyone was like, yeah, no, you shouldn't do this. If you go back, like if you go to a country, let's say for the first time, even if it wasn't my first time, you always have to consider the safest places first and stuff like that. But to me, I mean, because I used to go back, well, last time I went to Goma was like 2013, and then I moved there 2017. I know it was a big time, like, but I don't know, to me it was just, it wasn't a problem because I was so open. I was just so open to going back home, and I was ready to experience that part of the country by myself too, instead of only hearing what everyone has to say. So me moving back to Congo wasn't a problem, but moving back to Goma specifically was a bit of a shock to my friends and some members of my family.
Okay, thank you. I want to also ask a question about that in the same atmosphere, but to Tracy, because Tracy went to Bukavu, which is the second biggest city in the eastern part of Congo, and I would also have your opinion about what Jenny has said about moving to the eastern part of Congo, which is a troubling, sometimes seen as troubling part of our country.
Thank you, Gregory, for giving me the word. I agree with what Jenny said. Although me and we have a totally different experience, because I was born and raised in Belgium and I grew up in Flanders. So I'm Flemish speaking. And my first time in Congo, I was 15 years old. And just when I arrived in Congo, I arrived in Kinshasa, like you mentioned. I'm from the western part. And I went to Bakongo, where my family is from. I just realized that was home. So from then still today, I've always studied about Congo. Even when I did my master's degrees in international politics, it was about the Great Lakes region and Congo. I came to Kinshasa to do my thesis, and I studied Unikin for 3 months and came back in Belgium just because I was passionate about Congo and I wanted to study more about the country. After my studies, I wanted to go back directly to Congo, but I started to do politics in Belgium. For some of you that know me, I was an elected official, locally, and I was a political advisor for many ministers and other parliamentarians of my political party. And even when I was working in Belgian Parliament, I was working on gender issues, on environmental issues. I was always working on Congolese politic issues. That's always been my passion. So when I had the call to work in Eastern DRC to work with survivors of sexual violence, I immediately said yes. And like Jenny, people were like, are you crazy? It's war there. But I think the important thing is that you have to discover things yourself. It's true that the region is very challenging, but you have so many opportunities. And also what you see in the media is not what there is in real life. Like Goma is I really like to go to Goma when I'm in Bukavu, because I live in Bukavu. I like to go back to Goma for weekends because it's just like a city. Also, different than Jani, I had the privilege to travel around the world. and I lived in South Africa for a while also to study. I went to Vietnam. I went to so many places that for me, just being in Bukavu reminded me of so many other places I went in the world. So for me, it was not something shocking. For my parents, they always knew that I wanted to go back to Congo to work there. It was not a shock, also for my sister and my brother, but for the people outside that didn't know the country and that didn't know Bukavu, they were like, oh my God, you're going to Bukavu. And at the end, it's just like you have to adapt yourself. But I always say Eastern DRC, even if I'm from the Western part, I know tribalism over here. Eastern DRC is one of the most beautiful places I've been in my life. And there is so much things to do. And although it is challenging, I think people just have like this bad image of constant raging war, but it's more than that. That's what I wanted to add.
Okay. Je vais juste aller vers Jean-Jacques, parce que pour vous, c'est un peu différent. Vous êtes un exilé, si je ne me trompe pas. Vous êtes
So, Gregory, I'll just translate what you're saying,
okay.
But go for it.
Vous êtes un exilé, si je ne me trompe pas. Vous êtes venu de Kinshasa pour venir habiter en Europe, mais quand même, si je peux me permettre, quand même, vous voulez faire le retour, ou vous faites déjà le retour au pays. Déjà, pourquoi? Et qu'est-ce que votre entourage en pense? Et je voulais juste aussi déjà ajouter, parce qu'on n'a pas vraiment beaucoup de temps avec vous, et j'ai quand même envie de vous poser quand même beaucoup de questions. Et c'est la deuxième question, surtout que notre diaspora, elle est vraiment, vraiment occupée dans l'urgence. C'est-à-dire qu'on envoie, on n'est pas vraiment dans le développement, mais on est dans l'urgence, c'est-à-dire on envoie des transferts de fonds par Western Union ou par d'autres intermédiaires. Et nous, on voulait savoir, en tant qu'entité, en tant qu'organisation, on voulait savoir comment, en tant que diaspora, on peut dépasser cette étape-là d'être dans l'urgence et de vraiment être dans le développement. Donc, en fait, enlever cette barrière de ce qu'on connaît de Western Union, que notre grand-mère nous appelle ou notre neveu nous appelle pour avoir de l'argent. Voilà, ces deux questions-là. Comme ça, vous avez votre temps pour vous exprimer complètement.
Jean-Jacques, excuse-moi, je vais juste traduire les deux questions. So for the Dutch speaking between us, so the two questions asked to Jean-Jacques is related to the fact that we want, first of all, to have his opinion on the question that was asked to Tracy and Gianni, related to the fact that he made the step to go back to Congo and work, but we want to know what his family and his loved ones thought about the fact that he wants to go back. But the second question that is asked is related to the fact that us as diaspora, we are mainly involved in everything that's urgency, especially with the financial help that is being given to families or closed ones. So as an organization and as a diaspora in general, we want to know how we can be involved in something else, or how we can breach that barrier of being involved in something else than just sending money. Jean-Jacques, la parole est à toi.
Bonsoir à tous. La première des choses, c'est j'aimerais présenter mes excuses à tout le monde parce que je vais devoir vous quitter compte tenu des obligations que j'ai après ici.
First of all, I would like to apologize to everyone because I will have to leave before the end of the evening because of other obligations I have.
Je félicite les organisateurs parce que j'aurais bien voulu rester le plus longtemps possible avec vous parce que ça fait toujours plaisir de voir qu'on est avec des frères et des sœurs qui pensent au pays.
I want to congratulate the organizers for organizing this because it's a pleasure to see that we have brothers and sisters that are involved with what is happening in the country.
Pour commencer sur mon histoire, je dirais qu'elle est assez longue et particulière, mais je dirais comme l'a dit Ritsi, je suis né au Congo, j'ai grandi et étudié au Congo, mais par la force des choses, je me suis retrouvé en exil en Europe compte tenu des problèmes d'ordre professionnel qui sont devenus très politiques.
So just to start, I would like to pinpoint my story, and as Gregory mentioned, I was exiled in Europe and studied and grew up and studied in Europe, which made me be here by force, but still decided to do other elements.
Mais cela n'enlève en rien tout le sentiment que j'ai pour le Congo et tout mon attachement pour le continent africain, parce que ces 2 dernières années, j'ai continué à retourner en Afrique et à visiter pas mal de pays pour plusieurs opportunités, que ce soit d'affaires, d'investissement et même d'ordre de l'organisation de la société civile africaine en général.
This doesn't remove my interest and my attachment to the African continent and countries, because I've been involved with different organizations and entities around the... tu peux juste répéter la dernière...
Civil society.
Civil society, yeah, sorry.
Donc, je reste par conséquent très attaché à la République démocratique du Congo, qui est un pays magnifique au-delà de tous les aspects politiques négatifs que cela peut avoir. Ça reste un pays magnifique et un pays sur lequel on peut encore compter.
So regardless of that, I stay very attached to Congo, even if the situation, the political situation is particular. But I am still having a certain interest in the country, emotionally and morally.
Pour parler des opportunités d'investissement au Congo aujourd'hui, je vais en citer principalement 2. Grégory a parlé de Western Union. Les Congolais envoient beaucoup d'argent d'ici, partout dans la diaspora, vers le Congo. Et cela est pour moi une première opportunité d'investissement en République démocratique du Congo.
To speak about investments in Congo, Gregory mentioned the fact that people, or the diaspora at least, is sending money through Western Union to African countries. And for me, this is one of the opportunities to actually be involved as a diaspora in such an activity.
Parce que l'on dit souvent que l'union fait la force. Et malheureusement, ce qui nous manque en tant que Congolais, que ce soit dans la diaspora ou au Congo, c'est de se mettre ensemble pour créer des sociétés et pouvoir travailler, que ce soit ici ou au Congo.
Because we say that together we stand stronger, but unfortunately, we usually see that as Congolese people, we create enterprises or companies over here in Europe to only be active here in Europe.
L'opportunité pour ouvrir une agence financière telle que Western Union est offerte à tout le monde en République démocratique du Congo. Mais le plus difficile, c'est d'avoir des capitaux nécessaires et cela n'exige pas beaucoup de capitaux. Je crois que moi, quand je quittais le Congo, je l'ai laissé quasiment à 10 000 euros, l'équivalent de 10 000 euros à peu près. Donc, si aujourd'hui la diaspora arrivait à se mettre ensemble, c'est possible de trouver un capital de 10 000 euros et pourquoi pas de concurrencer lentement mais sûrement Western Union.
So opening an agency of Western Union is not a problem as such. It requires just the capital, the funds to have to opening it. But we just need to remember that it is not as much as we think. It is still a possible opportunity to reach and to do as a community to help out the country.
Si je peux me permettre de juste poser encore une question. Jean-Jacques, dans la diaspora, il y a beaucoup cette caricature du pays, que c'est difficile à y travailler parce que il y a trop de corruption. Et vu votre background, si je voulais un peu savoir votre opinion aussi sur ça, comment, en tant que diaspora, quand tu fais ton retour, comment travailler avec cette corruption-là ou un peu se naviguer dans ce milieu-là?
So as many rumors or many sayings are being shared or heard by many people, there is a lot of corruption in the country. And we would like to know how you think about the fact that corruption is one of the main factors in the business world in the country, how we can basically go around such things.
La corruption existe au Congo. Ça, je ne vais pas le nier et c'est même le but pour lequel, personnellement, avec d'autres amis, nous continuons à nous battre pour faire face à ce fléau. Mais ce que j'aimerais dire à tout le monde, c'est personnellement, je suis dans un état d'esprit de battant. dans le sens où il ne faut pas rester fataliste. C'est vrai que ça va très mal, mais il y a toujours des opportunités pour pouvoir faire des affaires, heureusement ou malheureusement. Donc, il faut essayer de faire quelque chose. Et l'un des moyens par lesquels on pourrait passer, c'est utiliser les médias aujourd'hui pour pouvoir parler de cette corruption qui empêche la diaspora d'investir. Nous avons quand même une grande population qui veut que les choses avancent. Et je crois qu'il faut, au lieu sincèrement de se dire que les choses ne vont pas évoluer, il faut s'organiser en des groupes beaucoup plus grands pour pouvoir avoir des investissements qui auront beaucoup plus d'importance et continuer à tenir tête à la corruption, même si elle existe.
Alors, je vais paraphraser parce que je ne me rappellerai pas de tout ce que tu as dit, mais je me lance. So corruption exists in Congo, but this is why me and my friends, we still fight for corruption and still want to denounce the corruption in the country. But we keep a certain mindset of fighters to basically go around this problem of corruption. But that doesn't mean that we don't have to try and do things in the country. We just need to do it in a certain manner and not give up on certain opportunities that we could have just because we think that there is corruption in the country. Alors, j'ai paraphrasé, mais je pense que ça donne tout le...
Effectivement, et cela m'emmène à parler de la deuxième opportunité d'investissement. Beaucoup de gens pensent aux mines, mais moi, j'ai un secteur avec lequel j'ai eu à avoir beaucoup d'expérience avec des clients avec qui j'ai travaillé dans la banque, c'est le secteur agricole.
So this brings me to talk about the second opportunity. Many people talk about minerals, but I would like to talk about another topic, which is agriculture, which I had the opportunity to work around with.
Et le secteur agricole, et pour aller plus loin, l'agro-industrie n'est pas très développée au Congo. Et donc, en tant qu'habitant au sein de la diaspora, il est important de pouvoir penser à ce secteur, car c'est l'un des secteurs qui seront les plus porteurs dans les mois, dans les années à venir en RDC, compte tenu de toute l'opportunité agricole et de tout le côté agro-industriel qui n'est pas encore exploité.
So industrialization of agriculture is quite important, especially as a member of the diaspora. We need to think about how agriculture can be brought to our country and can be used as a means to contribute to the development of a country.
Et c'est un secteur sur lequel la diaspora en particulier doit se concentrer parce que le but pour lequel nous envoyons de l'argent au Congo, c'est pour permettre aux gens de bien se nourrir. Et vous savez que le Congo souffre de beaucoup de problèmes d'insuffisance alimentaire et il est très, très important pour pouvoir faire un effort dans ce sens. Et nous avons les moyens en étant dans la diaspora et nous avons toutes les opportunités pour pouvoir investir dans ce domaine. Donc, il faut réfléchir, il faut voir dans quelle mesure on peut réussir ce pari. Et moi, je pense que c'est quelque chose de possible.
Alors, j'ai une question.
Vas-y.
J'ai une question de Bora Kamanya qui vous dit « Bonsoir, Monsieur Lubumba. Merci pour votre intervention. Y a-t-il des structures de support pour les jeunes de la diaspora qui souhaitent s'engager dans le secteur agri-industriel ?»
So just for the Dutch-speaking and English-speaking between us, there's a question regarding structures that support the youth of the diaspora that would like to be involved in the sector of the agriculture, but the industrialization of agriculture.
Il y a une seule banque en RDC dans laquelle j'ai travaillé qui s'appelle aujourd'hui Equity, qui finance des prêts, je dirais, des crédits agro. Mais ça demande un certain investissement, malheureusement. Donc, il n'y a pas de gros soutien comme tel, mais il s'y est de quand même penser à investir dans ce secteur. Donc,
so there is only one bank in Congo that is financing such projects, which is Equity Bank. It is a bank that Jean-Jacques Lumumba worked for, but it requires a certain amount of investment, but it's still a possible way to do it. I mean, it's still a possible opportunity to reach. but yeah, we should do such things with the different structures available.
Et moi, ce que je pourrais vous conseiller, c'est de contacter certains investisseurs au niveau ici de la diaspora avec ce que eux peuvent apporter comme capital, et les premiers investissements qui pourront être faits, ça pourra facilement permettre à ce que des crédits puissent être octroyés pour permettre de continuer dans ce secteur. Personnellement, j'ai eu à voir des gens qui sont venus de la diaspora et qui ont beaucoup progressé dans ce domaine. Mais bon, malheureusement, notre pays, le Congo, ne fait pas beaucoup la promotion des gens qui réussissent. Mais ce sont des gens qui réussissent, mais qui réussissent très calmement. Et ce ne sont pas des choses qui sont connues, mais des gens réussissent énormément dans le secteur agricole au Congo.
So I would personally advise you, you all to contact investors that are interested in such projects to finance your project as well. Because I've personally seen members of the diaspora that are coming back to the country and actually succeeding in their personal projects. Now, the issue that we have in our country is that we don't talk about people succeeding, but the people that are succeeding are actually present and real.
Et j'ai un deuxième exemple, ça c'est une amie qui était à la fois ma collaboratrice et avec qui était dans mon équipe toujours chez Procrédit, qui a aujourd'hui créé sa petite industrie de fabrication de thé au niveau local, et elle réussit très bien, et elle participe aujourd'hui à plusieurs forums, que ce soit au Congo, en Afrique. Elle s'appelle Nadège Boula. C'est quand même quelqu'un qui est en train de se battre très bien. Et donc, vous voyez que le secteur agro-industriel est très porteur. Ça, c'est les deux principaux exemples que je connais. Mais il y en a pas mal, il y en a tant d'autres qui évoluent dans ce domaine agro-industriel.
So I have a second example, which is a friend who is involved in the production of tea. So her name is Nadège Moula. She started a few years ago, but still is in a starting phase, but still succeed in her project, just to show that it is possible and it is something to reach and succeed in the agriculture sector.
Donc, vous comprenez que ça reste des secteurs très porteurs, et aujourd'hui, c'est des secteurs qui sont inexploités parce que bon, la consommation du café, du thé, tout cela est importé, du sucre. C'est des choses qu'on peut facilement, sur lesquelles on peut facilement s'investir et très facilement gagner de l'argent malgré l'environnement qui n'est pas propice, parce que je continue à croire qu'il ne faut pas être fataliste pour réussir au Congo. Malgré le mal qui se vit aujourd'hui, mais on peut toujours garder espoir dans ce qui se passe et tenter de tirer les meilleures choses et les meilleurs profits de la situation. Et nous pouvons aussi, en tant que futurs investisseurs, être les vrais acteurs de ce changement.
Ça, c'est vrai. So this is to show that it is possible to succeed regardless of the situation that is in place at the moment. We shouldn't just give up on our project, but we should still think about how to succeed and go for it. But one thing that is important is that we, as a member of diaspora, we could also be seen as potential investors in the future. Hence the fact that such industries or sectors are sectors with a lot of potentials. And therefore, it is very possible to succeed regardless of the situation.
Et donc, personnellement, je reste très disposé à vous mettre en contact, par exemple, avec une dame comme Nadège, que j'ai vu commencer, et elle a commencé comme analyste de crédit comme moi, et elle a progressé, elle est devenue chef de département, aujourd'hui c'est une entrepreneuse, donc je peux la mettre en contact, et on va certainement rester en contact permanent, et ceux qui voudront, je pourrais leur donner les contacts de Nadège, qui reste quelqu'un de formidable dans ce qu'elle fait. Et donc, des gens comme ça, plusieurs investisseurs comme elle, sont des gens sur qui on peut compter et sur qui on peut se baser pour pouvoir bâtir ce réseau d'investisseurs congolais venant de la diaspora.
So I'm personally ready to put you in contact with people that are able to help, especially a friend who started as credit analyst as well, like myself, but is now head of department and will be able to help you out, such as Nadège Boula, but we will make sure that we stay in contact to share names and to make sure that we are all able to get to people that can help us on different projects.
Et là, le dernier secteur sur lequel je voudrais parler, après avoir investi, c'est le e-commerce qui n'est pas suffisamment exploité. Et ça aussi, c'est une grosse opportunité d'affaires qui pourrait être utilisée au Congo dans les prochaines années. Donc, vous voyez que malgré la situation difficile que nous vivons, ça reste quand même un pays propice à beaucoup d'investissements et sur lequel nous, en tant que diaspora, nous pouvons être une force qui va emmener le changement parce que nous vivons dans un monde qui est beaucoup plus évolué et moderne.
So the last example I would like to share is also the example of e-commerce. So it's a sector in which I've invested myself, and you can clearly see that there is a lot of potential regardless of the situation in the country. There is something that is not being used, and there is a whole sphere where the potential is not used. And therefore, I encourage everyone to look beyond everything that is being done, especially with e-commerce.
Donc, je reste quelques minutes disponible pour quelques questions, le temps de partir, et je tiens vraiment à m'en excuser. Et Réti et Grégory pourront toutefois me transmettre les questions et je me donne cette responsabilité de vous répondre dans les meilleurs délais.
Jean-Jacques, peut-être juste une dernière question de ma part, avant que tu partes. Aurais-tu un message à la diaspora et à toutes les personnes qui sont amoureuses de l'Afrique et du Congo, bien sûr? Quel serait ton message, en fait, pour eux?
Mon dernier message, c'est surtout de dire à toutes mes sœurs et mes frères qui êtes présents ici, et même ceux qui vont nous suivre demain, c'est de vous dire que ce pays nous appartient. Nous venons de différents horizons parce que nous avons évolué en dehors du pays. Moi, mes parents aussi, ma mère principalement a grandi en Belgique, mais compte tenu de cette fibre congolaise, elle a voulu rentrer et elle nous a eu au Congo. Même si certains de mes frères et sœurs ont voulu retourner ici pour refaire leur vie. Mais je tiens à dire à tout le monde que ce pays nous appartient tous et qu'il n'y a que nous qui avons peut-être une vision assez avancée, élitiste, qui allons tout faire pour sortir de ce pays de là où il est. Il ne faut pas se dire que les choses ne changeront pas. Il ne faut pas être fataliste. Beaucoup de pays ou beaucoup de civilisations se sont relevés dans des moments de crise et dans des moments post-crise. Donc, ça reste une situation qui est possible d'être relevée. Et donc, restons très positifs et surtout, travaillons ensemble. Il n'y a qu'en étant unis que nous arrivons à bâtir un Congo fort parce que nous avons ce devoir-là et c'est un devoir sacré et notre destinée en appelle à beaucoup de responsabilités.
Excellent. Merci beaucoup, Jean-Jacques. Gregory, I don't know if you have any questions, a very last question before he leaves. I know he has to leave.
Il y a juste une question dans le chat qui vient de David Mwango. J'espère que je le dis bien. Bonsoir, Monsieur Lumumba. L'investissement dans les jeunes et les enfants ne devrait-il pas, selon vous, être également favorisé pour le développement futur de notre pays?
À Monsieur David, je dirais que c'est vrai ce qu'il dit, mais là, ça reste vraiment dans un cadre d'investissement au niveau étatique. Mais ça n'empêche qu'il faudrait y penser compte tenu du fait que c'est la jeunesse qui est l'avenir de demain. Mais n'empêche pour quelqu'un qui a su gagner de l'argent, parce que le but ici aussi, c'est de pouvoir investir pour gagner de l'argent. Après avoir gagné de l'argent et fait assez de bénéfices, il est aussi important d'investir sur la jeunesse, parce que sans la jeunesse, il y a pas de relève.
Voilà, je crois que c'est tout. I think that's everything.
Yes, Jean-Jacques, on ne va pas te retenir plus longtemps. On sait que tu dois te libérer. Mais en tout cas, merci beaucoup de t'avoir libéré.
Merci à tout le monde et toutes mes excuses en tout cas.
Pas de souci, on se tient au courant. On tâchera de te partager les questions s'il y en a d'autres pour toi, bien sûr. Mais merci en tout cas pour ton temps.
Merci, c'est gentil.
Gregory, the floor is back to you.
So just a fact, about the diaspora. According to studies from TRODEC, Trade Law Center, the Congolese diaspora sends about $300 million back to the country. And the countries that sent most are Angola, Belgium, Burundi, Canada, Congo-Brazzaville, France, Rwanda, South Africa, and United States. Just a fact about diaspora. I want to go back to Jenny. We're talking about entrepreneurial spirits, about investing in the country, and she has done that. She's working on the ground, and she started our own business. And I wanted to ask also this question about what according to you can the diaspora do to be more effective and to have more impact on the ground?
That's not an easy question. The question is not. No, it's really true, because I think this going back movement is actually for now a trend. I am sorry, I do not want to offend anyone. I'm not saying coming back home is bad, but I am seeing more and more people being interested in going back home, thinking things might be easier here compared to what things are right now abroad. Because we can see with the racism and stuff that's more and more popular, everything like that, the movements that are raising in Europe, people that are showing their true colors very openly. Some people from the diaspora, and I'm not saying everyone, think of going back home as a solution to their problem. Whereas when you come here, you realize that that might not be the case. That might not be it. And I will always encourage people to come back home, but you have to come back in the spirit of almost of like the war is just starting. I don't know if you get what I mean. Okay. So it's not like you come here and you think, okay, this is like, now I'm here, this is it. No, now I'm here, now we begin, basically. Mm-hmm. When I came here, I had expectations, and this is not one thing I tell everyone to not have. When you come here, don't have expectation. Let them be positive or negative. Don't have any, if possible. Just come and accept whatever is coming to you. Why this? Because either way, you might be disappointed. And honestly, living in Congo is like, it's not easy. I'm not going to be hypocrite and say that my life here is so hard. No, I'm saying it's not easy because you are giving up certainty, because we know, I don't know if Tracy agrees with me, but we know that in Belgium, for example, we could have okay, I'm going to talk for myself, better paying jobs, security, some type of I made, and that makes me actually live like in sacrifice. I don't know how to explain it, but it's a different reality.
Okay.
However, now I forgot what the question was. Sorry. But I have the questions like.
Yeah, you can go on, and I will. You can go on, and I will tell you again what the question was.
Yeah, you can tell me the question.
Okay.
Sorry.
The question was because you have started your own enterprise, and we wanted to know how the diaspora can invest beyond remittances, beyond Western Union.
Now I know.
Yeah.
To me, one of the best investments should be information, first of all. What we're doing here actually is people that have never been home, that want to go home. I think people need to be more informed than just coming here and thinking, okay, I can do this by myself. That's some sort of investment too. I'm pretty sure everyone was expecting for me to give answers like, yeah, you have to do this, that, try this. No, First of all, get informed as much as possible. How do you get informed? First of all, by groups like this, reading, just like information, like getting yourself informed through different through different pages and organizations that there is now, but also coming home just to visit. Okay, I myself, I don't know about Tracy, but I wouldn't advise anyone to come back home if they've never been here for at least 2 weeks. Get informed, because you know how in abroad in Europe, for example, if you want to invest in something, all the information you need is just out there. Everything you need is out there online. You can go to offices, you can have a meeting with someone that will explain to you like, this is how it works. Here, information is not shared most of the times. I'm just going to give a very simple example. When you come back, especially to Kinshasa, you want to move to Kinshasa and you're looking for an apartment to rent. You don't just have a website where you can go. I know there's Facebook pages, but be aware there's a lot of scams on it. Like you don't have a website that's certified that where you can go on and be like, okay, I'm looking for a house between this price and this price, this many rooms in this neighborhood, and there you have it, and then you can talk with the owner and then rent the house. No, information isn't shared, because between you and the owner, there's like maybe 3 commissioners to whom you have to pay a month rent for them to rent the house for you. That's just an example I'm showing. So you can't just come here and expect to rent an apartment. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Those simple information are like hidden from people. So imagine on a bigger scale. Whereas like you want to invest in a business, you want to start this, to start that, like information is very retained. So it's really important to come here, to discover like by yourself, step by step, to be in contact with people that don't mind sharing, like Mr. Lumumba was just saying earlier, that he can put you in contact with someone. It's really sad that things still happen like that, but for now, the best thing to do is to be very, very well informed before coming back home. And that's my short answer to that question, because I could go on.
You have one question. You have one question from maybe someone you know very well, from Bora Kamanya, who's asked you, Miss Irenge, what was your biggest challenge when creating your company?
Okay, first of all, what I created is, I call it a concept rather than a company, because it's not a company yet. But the challenges, once again, I will say it was I will try and explain quickly what the concept that I created, what it is about. It's something that's very popular and very normal now abroad, where you have secondhand and thrift stores, where people, it can be on platforms or stores or market, where people come with their stuff, especially clothes. We sell clothes and accessories and shoes, where people just come together and then sell their stuff. Here in Congo, it's something that's not, like, people are not used to that because of culture that doesn't allow you to wear something someone else has worn before. Long story short, it was really a struggle for me to make sure people accepted this concept, first of all, in the DRC. When you come with something new, a new idea in Congo, you really have to push it through. You have to be able to defend your idea, to defend your concept. That was really hard, because people kept telling me, how can I buy something that someone else has used before? I don't know what spirit they might have and everything. Meanwhile, the reason why I started this concept is because I kept on seeing there's a lot of waste in Kinshasa, plastic waste, but also clothes and stuff. People just, what they don't use, they throw away. We don't have that mentality of recycling, reusing, reselling. We don't have that yet. People just throw stuff away, and then we have a big problem. I think everyone knows, everyone here might know about that. So I wanted to let people know that you can actually resell stuff and stuff like that. So the challenge I had, first of all, was to introduce the concept to the DRC. Second of all, it was to make sure people trust whatever you're doing. People here locally, there's I don't know how to call it. It's getting harder and harder for people in the DRC to just trust whatever people that come from abroad, les banapoto, what we say and what we preach. It's really hard for them because they now have this feeling that we tend to come here as saviors, even though it's not what we're doing. But I understand where they're coming from. So,
okay. Jenny, I've just have
the same way they're in.
Sorry to interrupt you, because
Yeah,
I've noticed we were speaking English, but Reti is saying to me that maybe some French translation is needed for the ones not speaking English, if it's possible, and then we can go to Tracy.
Okay, so you would want me to switch to French?
No, let's just continue in English, and we'll of course, we stay available if there are any questions.
Okay, then I'll let you end then, and then we go to Tracy.
Yeah, so I just wanted to end by saying, so the challenges were, first of all, because I come from abroad, and it's a challenge by itself without having to explain why and stuff. And then the second one is to establish a new concept that's not so known here in the DRC. Those are the two challenges that I had.
Okay, then I will go.
Two major ones.
Thank you, Jenny. Then I will go to Tracy, because Tracy has like I said, a particular story, being that she's culturally from the western part of the country, then went to the eastern part of the country, and then we would like to have your opinion on that, and also want to have because you're from the three speakers, you're more working with human capital, or working with with people on the ground, people that have suffered, and so that's maybe also another point of view than the other two on the question how the diaspora can invest back in their country and have an impact.
Thank you, Gregory. So just to respond to what Jenny said, I totally agree with a lot of stuff she said about the fact that when you move back to Congo and you think you're going to escape racism, okay, racism is not going to be the challenge, because I feel like Congo or other African countries where I've traveled, my blackness was not an issue. And because I grew up and lived in Belgium, and that was an issue almost everywhere that I went, for me, I'm at peace at that. But then again, like you said, I'm from the West. When I moved to Bukavu, I didn't know anything, but literally anything. I think I saw you and Reti once somewhere, and I was like, oh, I'm going to move to Bukavu, but I don't even know where I'm going to find a house. I don't know the language and stuff like this, but I knew the gender issues. I knew the work, because it's something I've been busy for a while. But I'm adventurous like that, but I knew I was going to Congo. So I tried to create a network. I'm someone who is very extrovert, so I just went on Instagram, and I started to look up people who lived in Bukavu or worked in Bukavu, and just started connect with them and asked them questions for how is it working there, how is it living there, what should I be careful. I think I knew 1 month before moving to Bukavu that I was going to move to Bukavu, so it went very, very fast. So yeah, when I arrived, I think I'm from West DRC. Even when Jenny said okay, when you want to go to Congo, at least be in Congo for 2 weeks. I was for 3 months in Kinshasa and back Congo for sure, for a while, but it's not Eastern DRC. It's completely different. The mentality is different. The language is different. The food we eat is different. So you have to adapt yourself. It's still Congo, and you still feel Congolese, but you feel like it's another culture that you're not used to. I don't know if you have people from Eastern DRC that can also comment on that. I'm from the West. We are more, I'm really generalizing, more extrovert, more open, more loud. And in Eastern DRC, it was, for me, different. So I had to adapt myself. Although I stay true to myself, I'm going to stay extrovert, but I had to adapt myself for the culture. And also, it's not because you're Congolese that you're going to be accepted everywhere, or everyone is going to accept you. I had that challenge too, because like you said, I work until now, before I came back to Belgium because of Corona. I work with women survivors of sexual violence, and I was coordinating like 50 people every day who were older than me, all from Eastern DRC, so who all also had traumas, because I work with a lot of people, even in my team, that had traumas during war. So it's a bit challenging. So it's important that you love your job. And that's the thing that was helping me. And also the second thing, that you are surrounded by good people. And I was very blessed. I'm a Christian myself. And I was very blessed because I prayed that, oh, thank God, please, the people that I meet in Bukavu, let them be good people. And I've only met very good people. I only connected with people also, unfortunately, from the diaspora, who have been in London, who have studied here and came back to Bukavu. And that I created my small family and my small network there. And it doesn't have to be a lot of people, but these few people help me a lot, because the work that I do is not easy. Working with survival of sexual violence is not easy. So you need, when you go back home, or you just are with friends, be able to talk with people about that, and to talk with people without a taboo, or because in Eastern DRC it's still taboo about sexuality. There is still a taboo about the role of women, and that was also one of my biggest challenge, because I grew up. I'm from Congo, and I'm from a matriarchal structure. I'm a chief in my village in Congo. So for us, the women are chiefs. Is that tribalist? Because I see Gregory.
No, you can share your experience.
No, but
you can
for
share
us,
your experience.
No, from us, women are chiefs. So when I went to Eastern DRC, it's totally different. And even when I grew up here at home with my parents, like, the gender dynamics was for me something I needed to adapt myself to. Because here I was in politics, I was outspoken about a lot of issues. So the gender dynamics changed. So yeah, for me, those are some challenge. I think, yeah, I don't know if I can add something else. So for me, that's it. So working with human capital, in my case, it's very challenging because I work on a topic that is not easy. You need to have people you can talk about it, but at the end of the day, when I see the women I work like closely with Dr. Mukwege, the women that we help, and the work that we do, it's very fulfilling, because everyone thinks that when you come to Congo, you have to go to politics, you have to do big business and stuff like this, but you can make change in small things like that. The women les femmes sont le moteur du changement. It's the women that are going to change the society in Congo. I'm a firm believer that even in Eastern DRC, despite the patriarchy, and when you can just help the women overcome their traumas, they are going to change the society from themselves. They don't need people from outside because they are already strong, but you are giving me this opportunity to be more strong.
Amen.
So
I will just to jump in for Jenny and Tracy, just a question, because you're speaking about diaspora and how it's difficult, and the challenging parts of it, but I think there is also very much an opportunity, and that's why I wanted to ask where are the aspects that the diaspora can maybe problems that they can solve, maybe from abroad, or maybe when they're on holidays, or when they visit Congo. Which are the aspects that you see that the diaspora really could help?
I'm just gonna answer that quickly, and then I'm gonna let Jani talk, by listening to the people first, because we think from the diaspora that we know better because we come for it. Listen, this white savior mentality is not only for white people. We also need to think about Congolese people from Congo itself. They are not less than us. we can listen and learn from them and see what they need. And based on that, work with them. It's not us who are going to impose them. They've been running Congo before we were there, and they've been working. They're gonna survive despite that, despite the fact there are challenges. So I think what I advise to the diaspora is to listen to people, to understand what they need, and based on that, work with them and bring your added value, not based on what you think is good for them. That's not a good, I think, way to do the things. Voilà.
Can you close? Because I see the chat is going it's going totally loose. So, Jenny, the floor is yours.
What Tracy just said, I do a lot of comparisons. So I am going to compare this with going to the doctors. When you go to a doctor, the doctor can't know what's your problem unless you speak. Okay, so the doctor is the one who is helping you, but he can't help you unless you speak and unless you explain what's your problem. That's exactly what Tracy just said. Like, we can't, even though we think we're doctors and we can help the person, unless they tell us exactly what's hurting, where is hurting, we can't really do anything. And even though we go to the doctors, he doesn't take ownership of us. He gives us the independence when he tells you, listen, this and this and this are the pills you have to take. You go back and then you take your pills. You get what I mean? So when we come here, you cannot tell yourself that, okay, I am helping these people without even knowing what exactly they need. And then thinking that I have to hold them by the hand all the time and be with them. That's how I'm helping them. No, no, and no. This is a thing where I think even without living in Congo, you can help people in Congo. That's why I really insist on the fact that, you know, getting informed about what's happening here is actually contributing to helping what's going on here. That's a big step. Getting informed, that's a very big step. The second step is, I'm just talking about what I did personally. Coming here and seeing what's going on and trying to understand, that's also helping. We cannot just jump straight to the fact that, okay, I'm going to create a business and create jobs, and that's how I help. It is helping, but how can you, for example, employ people that you don't know anything about their culture and about how they operate, for example? That's just an example I'm giving. So I'm just want to repeat basically what Tracy just said. Helping starts from like getting informed about what people actually need here, and yes, for the rest, if I say on the long term, by creating jobs, creating job and investing in education, and that's what I'm really here for, education.
Okay, I have 2 questions in the chat room.
And once again, that was my short answer.
Thank you, Jenny. I have 2 questions from the chat room from Carla Caiba. I believe this information needs to be repeated. Are you all willing and open to be interviewed again about returning to the DRC? That's
Sure.
for all 3 of you.
Sure.
And then
yes.
I like to talk, so anytime.
Gregory, just to jump on that question for Carla as well. Carla and everyone on the call, please be aware that this is the very first event now. Because of the situation, because of COVID, we were not able to organize something properly in like physical, but we will be organizing other events physically with food and everything that goes with it. So please be with us, keep in touch, and of course, Carla, this will be repeated, and we will hopefully have Tracy, Mr. Lubumba, and Gianni Ringer also with us.
And thank you, Reti. And then second question is again from Bora Kamanya. Miss Tanza, since you have been in the East, have you seen any change in the society as you had a cultural shock at first? Have things changed?
Is my mic on? Yes. Yeah, I think I really adapted myself quickly, and I learned to appreciate Eastern DRC. I think you have things like everywhere. It's like being Belgian. I have things in Brussels that I don't like. I have things in Flanders that I don't like, but I prefer in Belgium. So nothing is perfect. What I really, really love about Eastern DRC and people from Eastern DRC, they know their culture. When I'm in Bakongo, I see people don't speak Kikongo like people of Eastern DRC speak Swahili, or they don't know their culture that well because of colonization was different and a lot of influence of Kinshasa and the West. So I think that's something that I really, really appreciate from Eastern DRC. And I had like my prejudice, but it's not always true. I think yeah, I think I really like it there. And this is why I want to go back as soon as possible, depending on COVID, to learn more about the culture. And yeah, I think it's the prettiest region of the country, the most challenging, but with the most opportunity, also in agriculture. And I think the people from Eastern DRC are the most resilient of the country, because all people that I've met there, everyone that I talked with had a history or related to war, and the way they could rebuild themselves. Some people are still traumatized, but the way they could rebuild themselves, and they could rebuild the East, some parts of it, because there is still war in a lot of parts, is something that I very, very admire. So yeah, I like Eastern DRC. There are so many things. What do you dislike? I see someone say, what do you dislike? What do I dislike from the East? Listen, I'm very honest. I'm a very extrovert person. I like to talk, and I sometimes feel like people think I'm, the quinoa. So the people from Kinshasa, that stereotype of the quinoa, I feel that it's not that I dislike that, but I feel that there is this prejudice from people from Kin, although I grew up in Belgium, but people see me as a quinoa. So that's something, it annoys me sometimes. And what I dislike is very, very, what I really, really, really dislike is the mentality towards women. You have the history of war and all this stuff, but also like the patriarchy, the way I see some men talking to women, the place that women has in the society in Eastern DRC is something that I dislike. Just because I don't come from that background, and also because I see it in my work. I see it when I talk to people. I see the way people talk to me. I'm 30 years old, or sometimes like when I go to places, I see only men and they don't respect me. I don't have that in some places where I go in the West or Western Congo. So this is something I really dislike. But for the rest, it's fine, no?
Okay, I will let maybe Jenny can add something very fast, and then I will have one last question, and then it's question and answers for the people following us.
Okay, I have to say that I'm from the eastern part of Congo, and I'm in Kinshasa right now, and my experience is, I think, the opposite of what Tracy has in Bukavu. First of all, tribalism is very, very, I mean, I always say I have lived with racism, so tribalism almost does nothing to me. Like, you cannot hurt me or offend me because you're tribalist, and to me you're just ignorant. But I really do get that a lot. Yeah, when you say you come from Goma, tu es Rwandaise, vous les Rwandais, or this, Goma, là où il y a le poison, and stuff like that. It's annoying, because I feel like in 2020, if you're over 20 years old and choose to be racist, or to pick up on people based on where they come from here in Congo, so choose tribalism as a way of living, I am sorry, but you're just ignorant. I'm sorry, and I think ignorance is a choice. So I don't really, it doesn't bother me like that. It saddens me, because it's one of the things that is keeping us from building a strong Congo and united Congo. So we can't stand up and start fighting against the world if there's still, if we're still divided within us. And for the rest, yes, I am very Tracy, but like les Quinois are very loud. Actually born in Kinshasa, but I lived 2 years in Goma where everything was really, like she just explained, people are very more calm there. So when you come here, and I'm not saying it in a bad way, because when I used to come back for holidays, I used to look for that noise, like those people shouting in the street used to make me feel at home. But then again, like when you live here and then from 7 a.m., all you have to hear is people honking and screaming in your ears. It's a bit like, it's something, you get used to things. It's like you moving to, I don't know, somewhere in India. People say that Indians also tend to be loud. So it's something, I mean, if you're open-minded and open to learn from other people, you just accept. And yeah, so yeah, there's always a shock of culture within the different tribes and where you come from in the Congo, but I can live with it. Like I said, I've lived abroad. I've lived in Belgium. Not that I hate Belgium, but yeah, I can.
Can I add something, Gregory? Can I add something on this?
Very fast, Tracy. Very fast.
About I think the fact that this is why Congo is such a beautiful country, for the diversity. And this is also an image that people have about Congo. When people talk about the Congolese, they only talk about the Quinois. But Congo is more than Kinshasa. And this is something I also want to tell to people when I come back here, that Eastern DRC is quite beautiful and there is so much things to do. And also this mentality of always, when you think about Congo, think about Kinshasa, or maybe Lubumbashi in some cases, is wrong. And also like the stereotypes that Gianni talked about. I think I've learned a lot about Rwanda and the relationship with Eastern DRC. And I think it's not nice from other Congolese to say to people from Eastern DRC, oh, you're Rwandese or this and that. But you can only know that by learning. And what I totally agree with what Gianni said, people choose to be ignorant, choose to just watch some videos on YouTube and make their opinion about Eastern DRC, and that's wrong. That's what I wanted to add.
I will ask my last question, and then I will give the floor to the participants for questions. My question, because when we created this platform and started this meeting with creating, my vision was a bit inspired by Balogi. When he made his album 10 years ago, he created a song that was called Indépendance Tacha, le jour d'après. It was like reaching about, you know, we had the Independence Day and we were partying and it was really euphoric and very joyful moment. And then what? The day after. And that's also this context, this framework I want to set up before asking you the last question. That is 60 years after Congo's independence. What's your thought and what are your inspirations for diaspora for this country?
Can I start?
You can start, Jenny.
I don't even know why I asked to start because 60 years. I think we've made progress, a lot of progress in a certain way. Whereas when you come here and see how things, especially like independent people, I'm not talking progress as for like within the government or all the things are managed here, but I'm just thinking of how people are now more thinking about investing in the country, not only for themselves but for the country's sake. Like I think there's more of we tend to think more globally than individually now. We're not there yet, but there is progress, and I always like to highlight the progress that there is. However, we still have a long way to go. That's one thing I personally think we have a long way to go. And my opinion is also that as long as, like, you cannot, a child that still has to go back to their mothers to ask for food or to be like, okay, mom, what did you cook today, is not completely independent yet. That's in my opinion. a child that still needs for the mom to come visit the house or the apartment once in a while to make sure everything is okay because the mom doesn't trust that everything is okay, is not yet independent. And I think that's what's happening in our country. We are those like new adults that live by themselves, but that still need supervision. Thus, we're not yet independent. We are, in French, you call it émancipé, I think. We are, but not yet independent. That I'll stop there. Otherwise, I'll talk for a longer time. So yeah.
Very interesting way to say it. Actually, you can go, Tracy.
So you asked the question to a political scientist, so I can talk hours about this, but I'm not going to do that. First of all, the first question we need to ask ourselves, when were we really independent? I mean, this is why I think if you have Dutch-speaking people here, you can watch the documentary, the 6-part documentary online, Kinderen van der Kolonie.
Certainly really you
do. What did you say?
Certainly you do.
Yeah.
Watch,
yeah, like they show us that how at the end, like 1960, how the independence went. Congo was never economically independent, maybe like politically in a way, but even today, I'm not going to go too much into politics. You know that elections are not always so democratic. What is also democratic in a country like Congo when we just copy the Western democratic principles with a country that is so big as ours, with so many different tribes, with so many different cultures. So I think and also only 60 years, look at the history of Belgium in itself from 1830 to 2020, all the stages that Belgium had to go to be the country that they are today. And still in Belgium, we struggle for a lot of things. So this is why there is something to celebrate when we talk about independence, because it's symbolic and because we are very proud to be Congolese, and because in a way we fought the oppressor, the Belgians, but we are still colonized in territory. We have also new colonizers, and we have never been dependent economically. Like what Jani said, we always have to ask to other people for money, but we have our own money in the continent. Listen, when I walk around in Bukavu and I say to people that I'm a chief of mission, people tell me where is your white boss? The decolonization of the mentality is also a very big issue, I see, in Congo. West, East, they still feel like they need sometimes to beg for money, to beg from people from the outside to help them. But we are the actor of the change. If the day that I think all Congolese will believe that, first of all, will be educated properly about their history, will believe that they can change their country and they don't need people from the outside. The day we will have politicians who really care about the well-being of the people, that's the day that we will have a real change and real independence. Although it's only 60 years, there have been some change, there have been some positive things, but we are still not there yet. So there is still a long way to go for me.
Okay, thank you. The floor is to you guys to ask your questions. Unmute yourself. Please don't interrupt others when they're speaking. And we have 10 minutes to ask questions to the participants. Let's make it 15.
Just a side note, if people want to ask the question in French or in Dutch, feel free to do it. We can always translate.
They're a bit shy.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Glory.
Hi, Glory. Thanks for connecting.
I think also a lot of people. Okay.
You are joining from far, but thanks for connecting. Feel free to ask your question.
Yes, I have a few questions. But the question I have is, what do you think the solution is? I mean, what's the way forward for the Congo?
Is your question for Johnny or Tracy? Or both of them?
When I jump on it would be great.
All right, perfect.
Who, me?
Yeah, you
Both
can
of
go.
you, feel free to jump in it.
I was actually thinking that was a very vague question. Sorry, because what's the way forward? Was your question? So what's the way forward from now? Sorry that I'm just repeating myself, but I want to be sure I'm answering the right question.
Yeah, in terms of like, I love that we talk about the problem and what's going on. And I would like to know what would be some of the solution that you would suggest, you know, for the Congo.
I think on a very big scale, like Tracy was saying, will be decolonization, the real one, and real independence. That will bring us very far. That's in a very big scale, because as long as we can't only as long as we don't trust ourselves and we can't rely on ourselves completely, knowing what we can do, and I know we can do a lot of things. We know our country is very rich. The people are rich. Like the richness is not only in resources, but also in the people, the intelligence, the talents and stuff. But as long as we can't rely on ourselves to make something out of this great country, we would still be in problems. So I think change of mentality and freedom of mentality.
Amen. Well, what I can add to that is that I did my thesis on education. I think that the way forward is make sure that our people everywhere in the world, and not only in Congo, are well educated and know their history. If there was something that the colonial were saying in French, it was pas d'élite, pas d'ennui. It means that when you have no elites, you have no high elite, you will have no issues. Because when you keep people dumb, it's not a good word, but when you keep people uneducated, they won't know what their rights are. So in Congo, we really need to invest in education on people. So if people are interested in invest in education, I think it's always a good step. Also, we need to organize. With that, I mean, not only in Congo, but also in the diaspora, to see how we can support our country from outside. I think Jean-Jacques Lumumba gave some interesting tips for that. And I also think like when people want to change the country, they only think about politics, but there are so many ways. Listen, I was an elected official on local level. Everyone wants to be a minister. Everyone wants to be a president. Just be like a mayor or something and you can make big change. So if you want to go into politics, start locally. So for me, the way forward is to organize, is to educate, and to be in the sectors that matters, where you can change the life of people on a small scale and then have an impact on a big scale. That's what I think will be the way forward, with what Jenny also all said.
Yes.
Eve Namugunga asked you guys a question. What are the similarities between the East and the West of the country?
Similarities. Yeah, exactly. Franchement, en général, c'est le Congo, it's the Congo. La mentalité de base est la même. Je peux dire ça comme ça. Like, la mentalité de base est la même. Mais honnêtement, I'm sorry, but when I lived in the eastern part, I think the eastern part has more influences from Eastern Africa. Donc, c'est vraiment quand même très différent, en fait. C'est très différent. Le Congo est grand. Congo is very big. It's like you asking the difference between France and, I don't know, Germany and stuff. It's still Europe, donc c'est toujours le Congo à la base, but it's very different. So I don't know, maybe other people here can testify, but I didn't see a lot of similarities other than Congo, quoi.
But I also think the history of the different parts, the Eastern DRC and Kinshasa, it's different. I think the East had more, the war had a big impact on Eastern DRC. And I think that's also why people are maybe more reserved. I don't know, but I sometimes feel that when I talk to people. So that's a big difference. And then also, yeah, it's a totally, not, I feel, you know, because when you travel to Bukavu, most of the time you travel from Rwanda, and just by the minute I pass the border, I feel at home. Even the first time when I was in Rwanda, I didn't have that feeling. I love the country, it's beautiful, but when I just passed the border, I was like, oh my God, I'm home. So that feeling of being at home, you will have that everywhere in the Congo, but you will see the difference in mentality, in the way people talk, what people eat, their values. But at the end of the day, we are all Congolese, and I'm very proud to be a Congolese from the West living in the East.
There is someone, Kisema, who wants to ask a question. If you can unmute yourself. And
yeah, are you hearing me?
Very
Yes.
well.
Okay, so I have a question, and it's a weird question, I think, but I'm just gonna ask it. The thing is, I hear the two of you, so like you have, both of you have your education over here in Europe, and then you went in Africa to work over there, and you created a sort of awareness for yourself. And I just want to ask, how can we as African diaspora create that awareness, not only on an individual scale, if I can say so, but more like in the community? Because if I can compare it also, I have a lot of Moroccan friends, and over there it's like normal. When you grow up, you already know that you have to do something in Morocco or for Morocco, even if you're here or there. And I think we Congolese don't directly have that awareness. So how can we create something like that? So a sort of I don't know how to say it. I don't know the word, but how can we create?
I think I understand your question. I think
Yeah.
I personally, and thank you for a question, and it's actually very important to discuss. First of all, I think what we Congolese people have, our generation, once we got to Europe, our parents tried to erase the Congo in us. Not completely, because home we still kept that Congo mentality, but a lot of Congolese people left with trauma, like from the Congo, and didn't really want to look back. That's I'm talking from the people that I spoke to, that I had to raise awareness to, compared, for example, to Nigerians and Ghanaians that have been around, and that they are really they only live in London, let's say, when they are outside the house, like not even outside the house, like in my university, you would have Ghanaian people stick together, Nigerian people stick together, and us Congolese people, you just go wherever you fit, wherever your friends are. We didn't have like a Congolese group of people, because just because sometimes home they tell you, yeah, no, kovanda kanaba Congolais te kene koluka ifo koluka ba camarade mindele.
Zana mindele
to
say
bango bazalaka and stuff like that. Pourtant, with Nigerians and Ghanaians, it's not like that. They will tell you, go find your brothers and sisters and stick together. And when they go home, it's the same thing. They are always reminded of back home and stuff like that. And when I grew up in Belgium, I didn't have that feeling. I'm not saying my parents didn't tell me, yeah, you can go back home, but it was almost never a discussion. My mother never told me that, you know, one day you have to go in Congo because you might be the change in Congo. Because when she left here, she left with a trauma, and she didn't necessarily want to be reminded of why she left, or once thinking arrived that one of her children will choose to come back here. So from the first time I came back to Congo, first of all, when I started coming back every summer, I started working with an NGO with like children that like girl kids that have been raped and that live in orphanages. So I used all my social media platforms to just raise awareness, first of all, about what's going on here, and also I tried my best to paint a positive image of the Congo, and just basically make people curious about coming to Congo. I've had friends that came back here for the first time because of me, and even people that I don't know. And after that, they were very interested of coming back home, just because of the things I posted, just because of the things I said, and not only about Kinshasa, but also the eastern part of the Congo. So I think it's our duty to make sure to make people curious about the Congo, and also to the way, because we are grown now. Some of us are already getting married and having kids. We have to, I understand our parents, the way they left Congo. I'm not talking about everyone, obviously, but the way some of our parents left Congo wasn't the perfect way to start like teaching us the love of going back home, as that they did their best. Eating fondue at home is actually keeping culture too. We know better. We are no longer immigrants, if I can say like that. So we know better, we see better, and it's up to us not only to educate the next generation, the younger generation, and also our generation, basically. So that's how I rose awareness.
Okay, I think Tracy can answer, but we have to look at the time.
Okay, I am gonna say one. I totally agree with her what she said, and I think like use your platform like I do for social media. And now I hear more young people saying, "Oh, I want to go back at least for holidays because we have this negative image of Congo." And then also we talk about the colonization of the mentality. It's important. Create your own Congolese group where you are. And then I was in Ghana in the same time as Gianni, but we didn't see each other. And I really love what Ghana did with their country, the way they are promoting it. It's just like everyone was there. Okay, you have more like accessibility, but the way Ghanaians promote the country and the way the government promote the country, it's just amazing. And it gives you the impulse to just go back, like the year of return. I think Congo should do that too. Or young people should just try to organize small festivals when they have the possibility during the periods and start to promote the country. Also, like to people from the outside, like in Ghana, I saw people from all around Africa. We can have people from Rwanda, we can have people from Gabon, from Congo, Brazzaville, from Angola coming to Kinshasa for a festival. We can have that. So I think it's just on us to promote our country and to show the opportunity we have and make sure that people know that it's not only corruption, it's not only war, it's not only poverty, it's more than that.
Okay, I have to look at Reti. One more question or wrap up?
So there is two things. I have Boraka Mwanya who raised her hand, and then I have Kwiyank, I don't know if I pronounce it well, who also has a question. So two things. If you guys have a very short question with what you think could be a short answer, I'll give you the floor. If it's a long question, I'll ask you to send us the question and we'll forward it to the speakers, and we'll make sure that we share it with you after the meeting. So up to you to tell us if you want to ask a question now or to send this to us.
It's a bit subjective, I would say. I think my question is a short question.
All right, go for it.
For them, if they want to, answer in a very long way or not.
Go for it.
Thank you. Perhaps just a quick comment regarding what Ms. Tanza said. There is actually this Congolese diaspora organization based in Washington, D.C. that is organizing a Congolese homecoming, so returning to Congo in November. Now the issue is, there's some disconnect between the diaspora in America and the diaspora here in Europe. So
yes.
We can try to find a way of creating the bridge.
Absolutely.
So that we don't repeat the same activities. So my question was actually a personal stance, and Ms. Irenge. Do you believe that because of what you've achieved, that you have a responsibility to lift your community up? And if so, how have you done?
First of all, can I answer this quickly? I don't feel like I have this responsibility. That's too much weight on my shoulder. It's gonna cause me stress and anxiety. Like, I just don't want to do my job well. It's true that I have this love for my country, Congo, that I want to talk positive about that. So, and I want to talk in every platform I get, and I will talk about Congo. Like, I was on an interview recently on Flemish TV. I will talk about Congo. I will talk about the positive aspect. When I was actually in Accra, I met so many celebrities, and the first thing I was doing is talking about Congo. I said, you guys are Pan-Africanists. I met the Jidena, I met all these people, I was talking to them. I said, like, you guys are Pan-Africanists, but when are you guys coming to the Congo? So I don't feel like I have this responsibility to do that, because if I take that, I will be disappointed if I cannot reach some goals. And I don't like also to be a role model, because it means sometimes that you are perfect. And trust me, I'm not. I'm also learning. But I think like the way that I do is always talking about Congo everywhere I go, and trying to make sure that people know where Congo is, first of all. And also, like, if people want to invest in the country in different places, I will do. Like, also, for me, I work with women victims of sexual violence, so I always make sure that people donate to my organization, of the organization of Dr. Mukwege. That's how I try to do it.
I will shortly answer to that too. I think we all have that responsibility. Even you tell yourself, I don't have it, unconsciously we have it. We have that responsibility. And I think also consciously or unconsciously, we actually make sure Congo, like we put Congo on the map for everyone. We can do it differently, but I think we all still do it in a way or another, especially if you're here present, spending your evening listening to this. It means you somehow feel responsible and are or will somehow make sure Congo is put on a map, on the map, not on a map.
Thank you.
I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, Bora, does it?
Yes, it does actually. I didn't have any, correct or wrong answer. It's literally a personal opinion that I wanted to have. I've asked this question to other people, and they had complete different opinion, and there's no right or wrong there.
Okay, perfect. I want to thank you all for participating, taking your time. I also certainly want to thank the speakers. I want to thank Tracy and Jenny for taking your time. Certainly Jenny, all the way from Kinshasa. I know it's not easy. I hope you haven't lost a lot of megas, because
listen, you guys should PayPal me some money for this. No, I'm joking. You're very welcome.
But I think it was very interesting. I thank you all guys also for the question that you have asked. I want to also thank someone else. I think the person is also with the participant, Yeni Christopher, for making all the visuals that you have seen on our Facebook, on our Instagram. That was all his work. So thank you, because he had to support us for like 6-7 weeks and demand all our demands. So thank you for that. I just want to say to you to watch Jean-Jacques Lumumba on TV5 Monde. I think it will be very interesting to hear his opinion on on actual topics happening in Congo with the corruption and Dan Gettler and stuff like that. So for the rest, that's it for me. It's a wrap up, and I think I'll leave the floor to Reti to just have a conclude the meeting.
Excellent. So yeah, as Gregory said, I genuinely want to thank everyone for participating, taking the time to join and to listen to what Gianni, Tracy, and Jean-Jacques had to share with us. There is a lot of things that have been said and a lot of things I want to say, but I'll keep it short because it's for me a journey that we start together. It's a journey that we can achieve together, but it's certainly a journey for me, at least the way I see it. It's a journey to change the narrative. I think it's our role, like Gianni said. I think I'm a bit in a sort of well, I disapprove, or let's say I disagree with what Tracy said, but as you said, we always need to agree to disagree. But we need to change what people think about our country. We need to change how people see our country, and start with small things. So we can reach the highest levels of achievements just by changing the narrative. Our role is not just limited to visit our families or to help families financially, but it goes beyond that. So as Jenny and Tracy mentioned, our roots are very important, but we need to discover them, but we need to discover them ourselves, see it from our own eyes. So after this event, if you have a question and if you have to ask yourself, what now? Just make sure that you know that Kamala is available to help you through every single step to answer the question, what now? For you and obviously for our country. And I would like to say, remember in the words of Gianni, information is key. Of course, if you get yourself educated and discover or rediscover, but most of all, listen. Don't think that you have the answer to everything before deciding at least to go back to the country. The information you need is out there and we need to get it. Let's change our mindset, educate ourselves, discover or rediscover, and create the network that will reach collective success. So I genuinely hope that everyone enjoyed this meeting and enjoyed everything that was said and shared. And as I said in the beginning, this is the very first edition of it, but we will be sharing everything we have. We will be organizing other events, so feel free to get in touch, keep posted. There is social media. So I see there is another question. Is it possible to list all the challenges you've encountered? So some of us, depending on their forces, could find, okay, good. So I need to think about how we'll do that, but we'll do it. But yeah, feel free to get in touch. We have a website, we have social media, so we stay available, of course. So for the question, Lola Lubala, we'll make sure that we get that question sent to all the speakers, because I think it's important to have the answer from all the speakers, especially on such a question, and not just one person. But regarding, if we look at the time, we really need to stop. But I genuinely want to thank all of you for the participants, and I hope to see you soon to the next event. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.